The morning I handed in my resignation, I'd already booked a one-way ticket to Lisbon, and the evidence vault was set to deploy straight to the board at 9:15 a.m. He barely managed to ask, "What do you think you're doing?" when the conference room screens flickered to life, broadcasting the email chains he'd personally deleted. I smiled, gathering my things. Choosing freedom and keeping copies. His face drained of color as his own keystrokes played back on screen. Every edit, every theft, time-stamped and authenticated. My name is Mara Whitfield, and for 3 years, I've been drowning in the fluorescent hell of Harlow Meridian Systems. Every morning, I badge into our Riverton office at 7:47 a.m. The keystroke monitor starts counting at 8:01 sharp. Coffee tastes like burnt rubber here. The Keurig's been broken since January, but fixing it isn't a Q2 priority. I manage data analytics projects, which means I translate executive fever dreams into actionable sprints while Victor Rourke, my direct supervisor, takes credit for every insight that crosses my desk. Victor's got that polished MBA smile, the kind that never reaches his eyes. He'll pat your shoulder during all-hands meetings, call you superstar, then email you at 11:47 p.m. asking why the KPI dashboard isn't singing yet. The Atlas project was supposed to be my ticket out of middle management purgatory. I'd spent 6 months building a predictive model for customer risk assessment, machine learning algorithms that could spot churn patterns before customers even knew they were unhappy. Clean code, elegant solutions. The kind of work that gets you noticed by the C-suite, maybe even recruited by companies that don't monitor your bathroom breaks. Victor loved it. Brilliant work, Mara. This is exactly the innovation HMS needs. He scheduled meetings with Daphne Leland, our CFO, promised me the senior manager role would be mine after the board presentation. I stayed late debugging edge cases, missed my cousin's wedding to optimize the neural network. The Slack notifications burned into my retinas. Just a few more tweaks, superstar. Then came the Thursday that cracked everything open. I was hunting for a dataset on the shared drive when I stumbled into a folder labeled Contractor Classifications Q1, Q2. Wrong turn. But the numbers made me pause. 43 data analysts listed as 1099 contractors were pulling 60-hour weeks with mandatory office presence. That's not contract work. That's employment without benefits. The legal exposure alone could trigger a Department of Labor audit. Deeper in the folder structure, I found something worse. Customer data from our European clients, imported without consent flags. Every GDPR violation carries a fine up to 4% of global revenue. We're talking millions. The timestamp showed Victor's login credentials. "Hey, you're here late." Victor's voice made me jump. He stood in my cubicle entrance, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, his casual Friday costume, except it was Tuesday. "Just reviewing the Atlas datasets," I said, minimizing windows with practiced calm. Good. Listen, about that senior manager position." He leaned against my desk, too close. His cologne smelled expensive and suffocating. "The board's being conservative about headcount, but don't worry, your contributions won't go unnoticed." The lie slid out smooth as his hair gel. I'd seen the HR requisition. The position was approved, just not for me. Someone named Bradley Chen was flying in from the San Francisco office next week. Yale MBA, 2 years experience. My replacement, wearing my promotion. That night, I started documenting everything. Screenshots, emails, Slack messages, Git commits showing my authorship of every line of Atlas code. The building security cameras recorded me badging out at 11:23 p.m. But the keystroke logger showed Victor accessing my workstation remotely at 11:45 p.m. He was already rewriting history, changing commit authors, updating project documentation. The next morning's all-hands felt like watching a magic show when you know where the rabbit's hidden. Victor presented Atlas as his brainchild, mentioned his team's support without naming names. Daphne nodded along, taking notes on her iPad. The other managers clapped on cue. I sat in the back row, fingers steady on my phone, recording everything. The cracks in the glass spread slowly at first, then all at once. I discovered the clean log folder by accident. Victor had forgotten to revoke my admin access to the backup server after last quarter's migration. There it was, nested 3 levels deep. Archive, post, cleaned, Q2. Every access log from the Atlas project sanitized, timestamps altered. My login sessions erased, replaced with Victor's credentials. Jules Navarro found me in the server room at lunch, eating a sad desk salad while comparing hash values. Jules had that haunted look common to HMS engineers: dark circles, energy drink shakes, the perpetual squint of someone who's seen too much bad code. "You need to be careful," Jules whispered, checking the door. I saw the board presentation deck, version 7.3. "Your name's not on it anymore, but there's something else." They pulled up a document on their phone. "See this risk assessment section? If Atlas fails, the accountability matrix points to you. Project oversight failure." Victor's covering his angles. The metadata told the story. Victor had been editing documents at 2 a.m., creating a parallel narrative where I was a rogue manager who'd overpromised and underdelivered. Meanwhile, the real Atlas, my Atlas, was being packaged as his triumph. That afternoon, Victor assigned me a new performance improvement task: migrate 500,000 customer records to a new schema by end of week. The twist? The destination database didn't have proper indexing. It was designed to fail. A technical impossibility dressed up as a skills test. The email CC'd HR, Daphne, and someone from legal I'd never seen before. "I know you've been stressed lately," Victor said in our one-on-one, voice dripping with false concern. "Maybe the Atlas project was too ambitious for your current level. This migration task will help us assess where you really stand." I stared at his desktop wallpaper, a motivational quote about crushing comfort zones, and felt something crystallize inside me. Not rage exactly, but something colder. Precise. "About Atlas," I said carefully. "I'd like to ensure my contributions are properly documented. For the project retrospective," his eye twitched, "all contributions are noted in the project charter. Team effort, Mara. We rise together." "Of course. But the Git history shows—" "Git histories can be misleading." He leaned back, that shark smile spreading. "Sometimes junior developers commit code they don't fully understand. We wouldn't want the board getting confused about who really architected the solution. Would we?" There it was. The naked threat. That night, I pulled everything: email threads where Victor explicitly asked me to design Atlas, Slack messages where he admitted he didn't understand the algorithms, the original project proposal with my digital signature. But the smoking gun was an audio recording from 3 months ago. Victor on a call with Daphne, saying, "Mara's Atlas project could save us millions. Thank God I hired her." Jules met me at a coffee shop 2 blocks from the office. They'd brought Liam O'Rourke, a contract DevOps engineer who'd been watching Victor's cleaning operations with growing alarm. "He's been using admin credentials to alter backup logs," Liam confirmed, Irish accent thick with disgust. "Not just Atlas, there's a pattern going back 18 months. Every successful project gets reassigned authorship. Every failure gets a fall guy. Or fall woman," I added. Jules pulled up a spreadsheet. 7 people fired in the last year. All of them had projects Victor presented as his own. Sarah from marketing, Kevin from sales ops, that contractor, Patricia, who built the customer portal. The pattern was clear. Victor was a corporate vampire, feeding on other people's innovation while leaving dried husks of ruined careers in his wake. But he'd made one mistake with me. He'd gotten greedy. Atlas was too big, too complex for him to understand fully. He could steal it, but he couldn't maintain it. When the first bug appeared, he'd need me. Or so he thought. I looked at Jules and Liam. "How do you both feel about whistleblower protections?" Jules laughed, bitter and sharp. "Better than employment at this point." That's when I knew I wasn't just going to expose Victor. I was going to dismantle him, piece by piece, using the very systems he'd manipulated. The law was on my side. The evidence was overwhelming. And I had something Victor never expected: allies who'd been waiting for someone to light the match. The target was clear: restore my authorship of Atlas, expose the data violations and fraud, and ensure Victor faced consequences from both the board and regulatory agencies. No violence, no threats, just truth, delivered with surgical precision. The decision to leave America came at 3 a.m., staring at my laptop screen while Lisbon flight prices flickered in another tab. $847 one way, departing Monday morning. I wasn't running, I was positioning myself on a better chessboard. Europe meant GDPR jurisdiction, 5 hours ahead of Eastern Time, and most importantly, outside HMS's immediate reach. I pulled up a map on my wall, started marking pins. Lisbon for the opening move. Portugal's tech visa process was straightforward, and I had enough savings for 6 months. Then perhaps Montreal in France, where data privacy laws had teeth. Berlin for the endgame, where the European Data Protection Board had their offices. Each pin connected with red string, creating a web that looked like conspiracy theory but was actually a tactical timeline. The digital vault took shape over the weekend. Not just a folder, a forensic-grade evidence repository with cryptographic signatures. Every document, every email, every Slack message backed up in triplicate. Cloud storage distributed across 3 jurisdictions. I used blockchain timestamping for the critical pieces, creating an immutable record that would hold up in court. The dead man's switch was elegant in its simplicity. A scheduled email system with a 24-hour reset timer. If I didn't log in daily to pause it, the entire evidence package would deploy to 5 recipients. Naomi Fisk, the employment attorney who'd made her reputation on whistleblower cases. Tamsin K. at the Sunset Ledger, who'd broken the Theranos story before anyone else. The SEC's anonymous tip line, the Department of Labor, and the European Data Protection Supervisor. "You're serious about this," Jules said, watching me pack my apartment into storage boxes. Only essentials would come to Europe: laptop, documents, 2 weeks of clothes. "Victor thinks corporate warfare follows corporate rules," I replied, wrapping my diplomas in bubble wrap. "But I'm not playing in his arena anymore." I scheduled a consultation with Naomi Fisk for Sunday afternoon. Her office overlooked Independence Hall, all leather and dark wood, the kind of place where justice felt tangible. "HMS can't touch you once you're in Europe," she confirmed, reviewing my documentation. "But they'll try the usual tactics: cease and desist, NDA enforcement threats, maybe even claim trade secret theft. Let them. Everything I have is either my own work or evidence of criminal activity. Whistleblower protections override NDAs when reporting fraud." She smiled, sharp as a legal brief. "You've done your homework. The GDPR violation alone could trigger an investigation. But the real leverage is the Department of Labor audit. Misclassifying employees as contractors while requiring set hours? That's federal violation territory." I showed her the dead man's switch setup. Her eyebrows rose appreciatively. "Insurance policy?" she asked. "Mutually assured destruction. If they come after me legally, everything goes public. If they leave me alone, I'm happy to handle this through proper channels." The intermediate goal was precise: make Victor lose control in real time, during the resignation moment. I wanted him to watch his carefully constructed narrative crumble while I walked out the door. The long game would unfold from Europe, but that first shock, that was personal. Sunday night, I configured the final pieces. A scheduled email to the board, set for 9:15 a.m. Monday, containing the JIT history analysis and the original Atlas documentation. Another to Daphne personally, with the contractor misclassification data. A third to IT security, highlighting the access log tampering, a federal crime under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. But the master stroke was the presentation hijack. Liam had given me one last gift: a script that would activate during Monday's board meeting, displaying the real Atlas commit history on the conference room screens. Every stolen line of code, every altered timestamp, visible to the executives who thought Victor was their golden boy. I typed my resignation letter on HMS letterhead I'd kept at home. Short, professional, effective, immediately. Dear Victor, I hereby resign from my position as Data Analytics Project Manager at Harlow Meridian Systems, effective immediately. My final project, Atlas, has been completed to specification, and all documentation has been preserved for audit purposes. I wish HMS the best in its future compliance efforts. Regards, Mara Whitfield. The last line was a scalpel wrapped in silk. Anyone in regulatory knew compliance efforts was code for, "You're about to be investigated." I booked an Uber to the airport for 10 a.m. Monday, 30 minutes after the bombs dropped. Just enough time to see Victor's face when he realized the scope of what was happening. Not enough for HMS to mobilize legal. The plan was set, the evidence was secured, the allies were ready. All that remained was the execution. Walking into that office one last time, delivering the killing blow with a smile, and boarding a plane to freedom while Victor's world imploded in real time. Europe wasn't an escape, it was an artillery position. The alliance came together like a heist crew, each member bringing specialized skills to dismantle Victor's empire. Jules handled internal reconnaissance, their access to HMS systems still intact. Liam O'Rourke became our technical specialist, documenting every tampered log with forensic precision. Naomi Fisk provided legal architecture, ensuring every move was bulletproof. Tamsin Kay prepared her investigative piece, ready to publish if HMS tried to bury the truth. The unexpected ally came through LinkedIn, Elio Marchesi, a data privacy consultant in Milan who'd noticed irregularities in HMS's European data transfers. "Your company pinged our audit system 3 times last quarter," he messaged. "Always at 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Always the same admin credentials. Very curious pattern." The final piece was Anouk Delatour, former executive at Lumiere Analytics, HMS's biggest client. She'd suspected data mishandling when her customer records appeared in HMS demos without permission. "I've been documenting inconsistencies for 6 months," she told me over encrypted video call. "But I needed insider confirmation." Sunday evening, we held our final coordination call. 5 people across 3 continents, united by Victor's hubris. "The 3-pronged attack is ready," I explained, sharing my screen. "First prong, establishing authorship. I'm publishing a preprint of the Atlas algorithm on Arxiv at 9 a.m. Monday. Academic timestamp, peer-reviewable, with the full commit history showing I wrote every core function." Jules jumped in. "I've got screenshots of Victor's calendar. He was in client meetings when most of the Atlas commits happened. Physically impossible for him to have written that code." "Second prong," I continued. "The GDPR bomb, Elio, you ready? Subject access request filed with your infrastructure provider." Elio confirmed. "They're required to provide unaltered logs within 30 days. But I've expedited it. We'll have preliminary data by Monday afternoon. Those logs will show the tampering clear as day." Liam pulled up his evidence. "I've documented 17 instances of Victor using admin credentials outside authorized hours. Each one coincides with data alterations. The SHA-256 hashes prove the files were modified after initial creation." "Which brings us to the third prong," I said. "Controlled media exposure, Tamsin? Articles written, fact-checked, legal approved." Tamsin confirmed. "The headline alone will trigger an SEC investigation. HS executive allegedly falsifies project attribution while mishandling European customer data." "But I'm holding publication unless they try to silence you," Naomi interjected with legal precision. "The beauty is the timeline. Everything triggers while the board's in session. They can't coordinate a response. They'll be reacting to real-time revelations with their lawyers in another building." I pulled up the master schedule. 9 a.m. Arxiv publication goes live. 9:10 a.m. I hand Victor my resignation. 9:15 a.m. Automated emails hit the board with evidence package. 9:16 a.m. Conference room screens show the real commit history. 9:20 a.m. I'm out the door. 9:30 a.m. Anouk sends her formal complaint to HMS board about data mishandling. 10:00 a.m. I'm at the airport. "What about retaliation?" Jules asked. "Victor won't go down quietly. That's why the dead man switch exists. I replied. If they freeze my accounts, flag my passport, or file false charges, everything goes wide, SEC, DOL, GDPR authorities, and Tamsin publishes immediately. Liam had one more gift. I've set up a blockchain verification system. Every piece of evidence gets hashed and stored on-chain. Even if HMS tries to claim the documents are fabricated, we can prove their authenticity with mathematical certainty. The call ended with precision coordination. Everyone knew their role, their timing, their contingencies. But Anouk added something unexpected. Mara. Victor tried this with my previous company too. Different name, same playbook. He was Marcus Vaughn then, got fired when they discovered he'd faked his entire resume. HMS never checked his references properly. My blood chilled. You have proof? Email threads, termination letter, even the investigator's report. It's yours if you need it. The final piece clicked into place. Victor wasn't just a credit thief, he was a serial corporate predator with a false identity. The board wouldn't just fire him, they'd face liability for negligent hiring. I spent the remaining hours creating redundancies. Evidence copied to physical drives, mailed to Naomi's office. Cloud backups in jurisdictions HMS couldn't touch. Paper printouts in a safety deposit box. Each layer of protection made my position stronger. The trap was perfect. Technical evidence to prove theft, legal framework to ensure consequences, media leverage to prevent burial, international jurisdiction to avoid retaliation. And now, the nuclear option, proof that Victor himself was a fraud. At midnight, I sent a single message to the team. Weapons free at Aero 900. The response came back immediately. 5 confirmations. 5 people ready to end Victor Rourke's reign of theft. Tomorrow, HMS would learn what happened when you push someone too far. Tomorrow, Victor would discover that the superstar he'd tried to bury had spent months building his professional coffin. Tonight, I packed my laptop and smiled. Monday morning arrived crisp and clear. I wore my best jacket, lightweight, navy, the one from my first day at HMS, fitting symmetry. My resignation letter sat in my portfolio, printed on personal stationery, not company letterhead. The Uber to the airport was scheduled. My carry-on waited by the door. Everything calculated, nothing left to chance. The HMS building lobby felt different when you knew you'd never return. Security guard nodded like always. Badge scanner beeped green one last time. The elevator rose to the 14th floor while I watched the city shrink below. My phone showed 8:57 a.m. Victor's office door was open. He sat behind his glass desk, rehearsing his Atlas presentation, clicking through slides that proclaimed his genius. My slides, my algorithms, my work. Morning, Victor. He looked up, that practiced smile automatic. Mara, ready for the big day? The board's going to love what we've accomplished with Atlas. I placed the resignation letter on his desk, directly over his keyboard. Effective immediately. The smile froze. Processing. What is this? My resignation. I'm done. You can't. We have the presentation in 15 minutes. The board will receive comprehensive documentation about Atlas at 9:15. I checked my watch. 17 minutes from now. His face shifted from confusion to calculation. If this is about the senior manager position, check your email, Victor. He minimized his presentation, pulled up Outlook. The ArcSiv notification sat at the top. New submission, Atlas. A predictive model for customer risk assessment by E.M. Whitfield. Publication timestamp, 9 a.m. What did you do? I documented my work, every function, every algorithm, every innovation you claimed is yours. It's peer-reviewable now. Academic record. Permanent. He stood, the chair rolling backward. You signed an NDA. Everything you create here belongs to HMS. Everything I create, yes. But you've been telling everyone Atlas is yours, right? So either I violated no NDA because it's not my work, or you've been lying to the board. I smiled, calm as a frozen lake. Which is it, Victor? The conference room screen behind him flickered. He spun around as his presentation disappeared, replaced by a terminal window. Green text on black background, scrolling fast. The Git log for Atlas, commit by commit, each one timestamped, attributed, hash verified. Commit number 1. Initial Atlas Framework, M. Whitfield, 2024, rate 15.09.23.41. Commit number 2. Implement Neural Network Architecture, M. Whitfield, 2024, 08.15, 14.17.33. Line after line, hundreds of commits, all with my name. Then, at the bottom, a single entry highlighted in red. Commit, bus 0447. Update author attribution, V. Rourke, 2025, 0120, 234522, modified post creation. Your IT department will notice someone accessed the system with admin credentials after hours, I said. Someone who altered records. That's a federal crime. Victor. Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. His phone started buzzing, Daphne calling, then legal. Then the CEO. The 9:15 emails had arrived early. Liam's touch. Making sure the board had time to digest before their meeting. You vindictive little. I prefer thorough. I picked up my portfolio. Oh, and Anouk Delatour sends her regards. She's particularly interested in how her customer data ended up in your demos without consent. GDPR violation. Victor. 4% of global revenue per incident. He lunged forward, grabbing my wrist. You're not walking out of here. Security cameras recording, I said calmly, looking directly at the dome camera above his door. Physical assault. Would you like to add that to your list of problems? He released me, hand shaking. The conference room screen now showed something new, his personnel file. The background check HMS had never properly completed. The discrepancy Anouk had found. Marcus Vaughn, terminated for fraud. 2019. Same photo, different name. How? You got sloppy? Same laptop serial number across companies. Same GitHub account with a changed username. Digital breadcrumbs, Victor. Or should I say, Marcus. His face had gone beyond pale to gray. The phone rang again. Board conference room. He didn't answer. I'm leaving now, I said, walking to the door. My lawyer will handle any further communication, though I doubt HMS will want to pursue someone who can prove their executive falsified his identity. Wait. His voice cracked. What do you want? Money? The promotion? Name it. I turned at the doorway, memorizing his shattered expression. The confident predator reduced to prey, his manufactured world collapsing in real time. I wanted my work acknowledged. I wanted fair treatment. I wanted a boss who didn't steal from his team. I shouldered my bag. But now I just want to catch my flight. Lisbon's beautiful this time of year. The last thing I saw before the elevator doors closed was Victor frantically typing, trying to recall the emails. Stop the cascade. But Liam had thought of that too. They'd been sent with delayed delivery through external servers. Unstoppable. The security guard wished me a good day as I badged out. My phone buzzed with a message from Jules. Conference room is in chaos. Daphne just said, get legal here now. You did it. The timestamp on my exit scan, 9:22 a.m., everything documented, even my departure. Lisbon's light hit different when you were free. I worked from Café Brasileira, nursing Galon while perfecting my evidence files. The time zone advantage meant I could watch HMS scramble in real time while appearing to be asleep. 5 hours ahead was 5 hours of strategic superiority. Victor's first counterstrike came within 48 hours, a cease and desist letter claiming theft of intellectual property. I forwarded it to Naomi, who responded with surgical precision, citing whistleblower protections and attaching the original Atlas commit logs. Their legal team went silent. Strike 2 arrived in Montreval, a small French city where I'd rented a flat near the university. HMS had frozen my final paycheck and locked my corporate accounts. The email claimed, pending investigation into unauthorized data access. I activated Contingency Plan B. The subject access request Elio had filed was approved. The infrastructure provider's logs arrived, pristine and unaltered, showing Victor's midnight tampering sessions in forensic detail. They're panicking. Tamsin messaged me from New York. My source at HMS says the board hired external investigators. Victor's been suspended, pending review. From Montreval, I took the train to Berlin, setting up in a co-working space in Kreuzberg. The city's tech scene hummed with the kind of energy HMS had tried to manufacture with ping-pong tables and forced fun. Here, innovation was real, not performative. Victor's third attempt was desperate. A personal lawsuit alleging defamation and corporate espionage. He claimed I'd fabricated evidence and destroyed his reputation. The complaint was filed in Pennsylvania, where I no longer resided and had no assets. I responded by posting the blockchain verification hashes publicly. Anyone could verify the document's authenticity. The timestamps proved they existed before Victor's alleged defamation. Math doesn't lie, even when executives do. Working from a coffee shop near Alexanderplatz, I refined the final package. The gate history analysis became a beautiful visualization, a timeline showing my commits in blue, Victor's alterations in red. The pattern was undeniable. I sent it to Daphne directly with a simple note. For your investigation, no legal action needed if HMS acknowledges the truth. Jules kept me updated from inside. Victor's office is empty. They found more. He'd been selling our client data to competitors. The Atlas theft was just the tip. Berlin's gray December sky reminded me of Pennsylvania, but without the suffocation. I could breathe here. My savings would last 8 months, maybe longer with freelance work. European companies were already reaching out, intrigued by the developer who'd built Atlas. Then came the call I'd been expecting. Not Victor, he was too proud. Daphne Leland, video calling from HMS's boardroom. Ms. Whitfield, the board has completed its preliminary investigation. I stayed silent, letting her fill the space. Victor Rourke has been terminated with cause. We've also discovered significant irregularities in his employment history and credentials. I'm aware. She winced slightly. We owe you an apology. And proper recognition. The Atlas project will be reattributed to you in all documentation. We're prepared to offer a settlement for the mishandling of your intellectual property. I don't want money. I want a public acknowledgement. And reforms to prevent this from happening to others. That's unusual. So is having your work stolen by someone who falsified their entire identity. She nodded slowly. We'll need you to sign. No NDAs, the truth stays public. That's non-negotiable. Behind her, I could see lawyers whispering urgently. The power had shifted completely. I held evidence of systemic failures that could trigger federal investigations. They needed my cooperation more than I needed their money. We'll send a proposal, she said finally. After the call, I walked along the Spree River, watching boats navigate the icy water. My phone buzzed with messages from the Alliance. A nuke's complaint had triggered a full GDPR audit. Liam had found 3 more employees Victor had sabotaged. Tamsin's editor was pushing for a series on toxic tech culture. But the sweetest message came from HMS's internal Slack, screenshot by Jules. Company-wide email just went out. Victor's termination, your attribution for Atlas, and mandatory ethics training for all managers. You won. I sat on a bench, Berlin stretching out around me, and felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Justice. Not revenge, that was too petty a word. Justice, clean, documented, verified justice. The next morning, I opened my laptop to find 17 LinkedIn messages from recruiters and 3 interview requests from European firms. My reputation had preceded me. The developer who'd built Atlas and exposed corporate fraud with mathematical precision. Victor had tried to bury me. Instead, he'd launched my international career. The emergency board meeting convened at 2 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Berlin time. I'd borrowed a conference room at a startup incubator in Kreuzberg, my laptop positioned perfectly for the hybrid call. Naomi sat in HMS's Philadelphia boardroom as my legal representative. Tamsin waited in the virtual lobby, ready to publish if needed. All parties present. The board chair's voice was tight. 12 faces on screen, including Daphne, the full board, and Victor, his camera on but muted, legal counsel beside him. I shared my screen. Board members, what you're seeing is the forensic analysis of Atlas project authorship, verified by 3 independent technical auditors. The visualization unfurled, a timeline showing 447 commits over 6 months. Each dot represented code I'd written. Timestamp authenticated. Then, in stark red, the alterations, all occurring after 11 p.m. All from Victor's admin credentials. This is fabricated, Victor started. Mr. Rourke, you're muted for a reason. The board chair cut him off. Continue, Ms. Whitfield. I switched slides. Here's the SHA-256 hash comparison, original files versus altered versions. The blockchain verification proves these documents existed before any alleged tampering. Jules's evidence came next. Screenshots of Victor in client meetings when commits were supposedly made. Physically impossible for Mr. Rourke to have written this code while presenting to clients in Boston. Then, the killing blow. Liam's server logs. Note the timestamp here, 11:47 p.m., January 20th. Mr. Rourke's credential accessed my workstation remotely, altered the GET history, then attempted to delete the access log. Except HMS's backup system captured everything. Daphne spoke carefully. The evidence is comprehensive. There's more. I pulled up Anouk's documentation. Ms. Delatour, would you explain what you found? Anouk's face appeared on screen. Lumiere Analytics terminated our HMS contract after discovering customer data in demos we never authorized. GDPR violation, clear as day. But more interesting, she shared her screen. This termination letter from 2019, Marcus Vaughn, dismissed for falsifying credentials and project attribution. Same photo as Victor Rourke. The board erupted, muted chaos as members turned to each other, legal counsel frantically typing, Victor's lawyer unmuted. These are separate issues. We need to... No, I interrupted. They're the same issue. A serial fraud artist, HMS, failed to properly vet who then stole from employees while exposing the company to federal investigation. I pulled up my final slide. The subject access request results from the EU infrastructure provider, completely unaltered logs showing every one of Victor's tampering sessions. These logs are from outside HMS's control, third-party verified. They show 17 instances of unauthorized data manipulation, each a violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. The board chair looked sick. Mr. Rourke, do you have any response that won't further incriminate you? Victor's face was marble. His lawyer whispered urgently, but Victor pushed him aside, unmuting himself. You think you've won? His voice cracked. You'll never work in tech again. I have connections. Mr. Rourke. Daphne's voice was ice. You're terminated, effective immediately. Security is waiting outside the conference room to escort you out. On screen, I watched 2 security guards enter the Philadelphia boardroom. Victor stood, his careful composure finally shattered. This isn't over. Yes, it is. The board chair said. Ms. Whitfield, the board votes unanimously to restore your authorship of Atlas, provide full settlement for stolen IP, and cooperate with any regulatory investigations you deem necessary. I want it public, I said. HMS acknowledges my work, publicly apologizes, and implements real oversight to prevent future theft. Agreed. Victor was being escorted out now. His last words cut off as security removed him from frame. His career didn't just end, it imploded on camera, witnessed by everyone he'd tried to impress. One more thing, I added. The 7 employees Victor sabotaged before me, they deserve restitution too. Daphne nodded, defeated. We'll review all of Mr. Rourke's projects. The call ended with the board in emergency session, legal preparing for the regulatory storm, and Victor's empty chair spinning slowly to a stop. My phone lit up immediately. Jules. He's out. Security has him in the lobby, badge confiscated, escorted to his car. Liam. It just locked all his accounts. Found 3 more altered projects. Tamsin. Publishing the story now. HMS executive terminated after fraudulent identity and IP theft exposed by whistleblower. I closed my laptop and walked to the window. Berlin sparkled below, a city that had rebuilt itself from rubble. Tomorrow, HMS would issue their statement. My reputation would be restored. Victor, Marcus, whoever he really was, would face federal investigation. But tonight, I just stood there, breathing free air, watching the city lights reflect off the spree. The man who'd tried to erase me had been erased instead, not by violence or rage, but by truth, methodically documented and precisely delivered. The shocked face I'd promised in my resignation letter, I'd seen it twice now, once in his office, and again on 12 board members' screens, worth every minute of preparation. The internal announcement went out at 9 a.m. Eastern Tuesday. HMS's carefully worded statement acknowledged my authorship of Atlas, confirmed Victor Rourke's termination for cause, and announced a comprehensive review of project attribution practices. Corporate speak for "We got caught." Tamsin's article hit the tech news circuit within hours. Data executive's fraud exposed by employee he tried to silence trended on Hacker News. LinkedIn exploded with professionals sharing their own stories of stolen credit. Victor Rourke became a cautionary tale, his name synonymous with corporate theft. By Wednesday, the SEC had opened an investigation into HMS's contractor classifications. The Department of Labor followed suit. Daphne sent me a personal email. The board has approved your full settlement. No strings, no NDAs, just acknowledgement and compensation. I didn't reply immediately. Instead, I sat in my Berlin apartment, watching the sun set over the city. My phone buzzed with job offers, startups in Stockholm, scale-ups in Amsterdam, even a consulting firm in Zurich. The developer who'd exposed corporate fraud with mathematical precision was suddenly very hireable. Jules messaged from Philadelphia. Victor tried to scrub his online presence, but the internet never forgets. Someone found his Marcus Vaughn profiles. He's radioactive in tech now. The settlement documents arrived Thursday morning, clean, simple, everything I'd demanded, full attribution for Atlas, compensation for stolen IP, public acknowledgement of my contributions, and a commitment to investigate and compensate Victor's other victims. I signed them from a cafe in Prenzlauer Berg, using the same pen I'd used for my resignation letter. Naomi called afterward. You know you could have gotten 10 times this amount, right? It wasn't about money. I know. That's what makes this beautiful. You wanted justice, not a payday. Friday brought unexpected closure. An email from someone named Sarah Chen, no relation to the Bradley Chen who'd almost gotten my promotion. She was one of Victor's previous victims, the marketing manager whose campaign strategy he'd stolen. Thank you, she wrote. I thought I was crazy. Seeing him exposed, knowing I wasn't alone, you gave me back my sanity. 6 more similar emails followed. Each person Victor had crushed, now vindicated. We formed an informal support group, sharing stories and job leads. Most had landed somewhere better. Victor's theft had inadvertently freed them from HMS's toxic culture. The final piece came Saturday evening. A notification on my phone. Victor M. Rourke indicted on charges of wire fraud and violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Below it, his mugshot, the polished executive facade completely gone, replaced by a hollow-eyed stranger. I walked to my favorite spot along the spree, where the city lights danced on dark water. My phone rang, an unknown number with a Pennsylvania area code. I almost didn't answer, then curiosity won. Mara? Victor's voice, smaller than I'd ever heard it. How did you get this number? It doesn't matter. I just wanted to say. He paused, breathing ragged. You destroyed me. No. Victor, you destroyed yourself. I just documented it. Everything I built, everything you stole, there's a difference. Silence stretched between continents. Then he said, "The FBI seized everything. My accounts, my home, everything." Good. You're enjoying this. I thought about it, watching a boat pass under the bridge. No, I'm not enjoying it. But I'm not sorry either. You had hundreds of chances to be decent, to give credit, to build instead of steal. You chose this. He hung up without another word. I blocked the number and deleted the call log. Victor Rourke was history. My phone buzzed again, a LinkedIn notification. HMS had updated their company page, announcing Atlas as groundbreaking work by Mara Whitfield with my profile tagged. The comments were already pouring in, recruiters, colleagues, even some executives asking if I was available for consulting. I closed LinkedIn and opened my laptop. A new document, blank page. At the top, I typed, Project Phoenix, a framework for ethical AI development. My next project, my real work. Built in the open, attribution clear from day one. The notification badge on my email showed 47 unread messages, job offers, interview requests, collaboration proposals. Tomorrow, I'd sort through them, choose my next move. Tonight, I just sat by the river, laptop warm on my legs, writing code that no one could steal because I was giving it away free. The Berlin evening wrapped around me like possibility. Somewhere in Pennsylvania, Victor faced federal charges. Somewhere in Philadelphia, HMS scrambled to rebuild their reputation. And here in Europe, I wrote clean code under my own name. Finally free. Revenge complete. Justice served. Future wide open. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. What would you have done in Mara's position? Looking forward to reading your perspectives.